So welcome everyone. Let's get started. I'm very excited tonight to have Lisa Swerdlow here. I came across her music years ago, actually, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, on Facebook. Absolutely loved it and connected with her. And I'm so glad that we finally have had a chance to sit down and do this. We've been talking for over the last few weeks and reviewing some of the many, many pieces she's written. I'm very excited to have her on the show. Welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
I read your bio. It's very interesting that your dad seemed like a very accomplished musician. He played at least what, three instruments? It sounds like the piano, the mandolin. What else would he play?
Accordion,
Yeah.
yeah, those were the three instruments that he was pretty proficient in.
Now, was he a professional or was he just always going around playing and just?
No, my father was he was a talented painter. He did mosaics. He wrote short stories.
Mm,
Uh, he played many instruments, but he was born at a time, well, he grew up um, during the Depression.
mm.
So he was never able to pursue any of his talents. He even was on stage for a while because he had to go to work and support his family. So
Hmm.
unfortunately, he just brought all his talent home.
Yeah. And it obviously passed on to you.
And my brother's a professional musician as well.
Oh, is he? Oh, I did not know that. What does he do?
He lives in Hawaii on the Big Island, and he plays Hawaiian slide steel guitar in
Oh,
a luau company he's been with for nearly 20 years. He's the only haole in the band,
oh, wow.
but he's such a excellent musician. He also plays guitar, but professionally he's playing Hawaiian steel.
I've been to Hawaii twice, and there's something about the air there. You just never want to leave. It's just so gorgeous. I hope you go make a point to visit him often.
I visit him about once a year, and he comes here about
Well,
once a
there you
year.
go. That's great. So now tell me about the path to musicianship because it's not an easy path, and some people just decide early in their life they're going to be a musician. Some people kind of fall into it. Some people go kicking and screaming into it. What was your journey like?
Um, well, when I was about 4 or 5, I was at an aunt's house of mine, and one of my cousins, who was much older than me, I'm almost the youngest cousin, not quite.
Hmm.
He was much older than me. He sat down at the piano and started playing. I don't know what composer. I was 4 years old at the time,
Hmm.
but I had never heard anyone play like that before. I was completely mesmerized, and I said to my mother, I want to do that.
Wow.
And so at the age of 6, she felt I was old enough to start studying piano. And so that started me on my musical journey.
Hmm.
Um, but it's been times where I've taken time off from that. I played classical guitar for a while,
Oh.
but it was fun, but it wasn't my instrument, you
Hmm.
know. But I enjoyed it a lot. It's very challenging.
Hmm.
But through the years, I've studied in college. I studied with this amazing. I don't even know if he's alive anymore. His name was Jerry Moore, an amazing musician himself and
Hmm.
conductor.
Hmm.
And I learned a great deal with him. But I've played in salsa bands, and I've played in blues bands, and I've played in rock and roll bands, and so I kind of went out into different avenues,
Yeah.
but um, I've always come back to my love, which is mostly classical music,
Hmm.
and that's not all. I mean, I was a real fan of Carole King, Burt Bacharach, and
Yes.
Anthony Joban,
Hmm.
Keith Jarrett,
Mm.
Chick Corea. All these people were big
Hmm.
influence on me.
Oh yeah.
Uh, So Claude Bowling, I really loved his work that he did with Jean-Pierre Rampal.
Oh
The duet
yes. Yeah.
were fantastic. So it's been a circuitous journey.
Hmm. And how did you end up where you are today, which is more kind of a crossover, contemporary, classical? How did that move take place? Because you were in a rock band for a while, true? And
Well, actually, I was in a 10-piece salsa band
oh,
back.
okay, yes. Hmm.
Uh, how did I move into this genre? It just sort of flowed naturally. I mean, when I started composing again,
Hmm.
this just was the music that was coming through me.
Yeah.
And uh, 2016, I decided it was time for me to start recording.
Hmm.
And this was just the music that was coming out of me, though I never felt I was able to be locked into any one genre.
Yeah.
Kind of classical crossover, a little bit new age, but not so much. It was hard for me, and so it was hard for radio to figure out where to put me.
Right.
Um, I was on a record label, Heart Dance Records, for about 3 years. I never quite felt I belonged there.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
so I think a lot of um, uh, that's my cat making noise there.
That's all right. Well, we have a lot of wonderful videos of you, some of you playing, some of you with videos, and some of you just with your album itself. Let's talk about the Voyager album. Was that your first album?
No, that was my second album.
Your second album, okay. Because
Yeah.
we have a live recording of you playing that Autumn Speaks to Me. Should we do a little of
Yeah,
that right now, or would you like to give us a little background on
that
that?
would be sure. Well, a little background on that is I tend to be very inspired by the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I live in the Sierra Foothills, and there was a gentle rain coming down,
Mm.
turned into a heavy rain, and
Mm-hmm.
then there was wind, and then it ended up a gentle rain again. And
Mm.
then there was no rain, all in a matter of about 4 hours.
Wow.
And so that was the inspiration behind that piece.
Okay, well, let's listen to this. Autumn Speaks to Me. This is a beautiful piece with you at the keyboard. And without further ado, Autumn Speaks to Me. I love the way you added some tension into it at various points and used the diminished chords on occasion. How much of that you do is consciously done? How much is it that you kind of feel it or sense it or, find the notes kind of as you go? What's how's your process of building these beautiful things? So what do you do?
I would say it's a combination. Sometimes uh, my hands just go to something and I go, I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And if I think too much about a project I'm working on, then I feel like I start to get bored. It's like I have to let the thinking part of my brain back go into the background and
yeah,
just let the other part of my brain, probably the right side of my brain, have more of a say in it. So it's kind of a blend. I mean, I will look at something and go, how do I resolve this? And of
yeah.
course, I use my music theory background. Uh,
Hmm.
but oftentimes, it just my hands just go somewhere, and I go, oh, that
Yeah.
works. I like that.
You,
That expresses what I'm feeling.
I just had a wonderful conversation with the first person I interviewed back over almost 3 years ago, Joe Blanchard, who doesn't know anything about music at all. He does it all by feel and by just, by ear. And I just learned today that he was in a 3 hour recording session and just spur of the moment came up with 10 pieces that just came to him and he has no idea how. And just,
Wow.
it just, out of the 43 pieces he played, 10 of them were just original on the spot. He was so inspired by the piano. It's just amazing what inspires musicians. And so now
A
this
good
next, yeah,
instrument will do that.
yes. This next piece is very special to you, I know. It's called Rhapsody Lives in You. And it's not only a video, but it's kind of it's got a live some of you playing live too, but also a beautiful video. Do you want to give us a little background up before we play it?
Well, my wife, who passed away last year,
Mm.
she fell very ill with cancer, and I was in the living room working on a piece that I actually had been very inspired by something Rachmaninoff did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the there's part of the intro that is sort of Rachmaninoff-y, I always say.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the bedroom with the door closed and on the phone with some friend of hers, and I heard her laughing.
Uh,
It just it just really struck me like here's this woman whose mortality is very much in question.
mm-hmm.
She can barely get out of bed,
Mm-hmm.
but she found something that just made her laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It was rhapsodic.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the piece was sort of inspired by that sense that we all have a certain song in the universe. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is heard through our laughter, sometimes it is heard through our humming,
Mm.
but it's powerful. And
Yeah.
so that's what inspired me in that piece.
Wow. Well, this is just a beautiful piece. A Rhapsody Lives in You. testament to your love. It's just so beautiful. Very
Thank you.
beautiful. Oh my God. And I see that Doug Hammer worked on that with you. I love Doug Hammer. He's
Yes, he
amazing.
orchestrated that piece.
Yeah.
He's such a brilliant orchestrator.
Mm. Now, by the way, did you have a real orchestra playing that, or was that all Doug Hammer kind of? Because I see
Uh,
there's
no,
images at one
I
point.
call it the Doug Hammer Studio Orchestra.
Oh my God, he's amazing. He is amazing. Yeah. I once did a piece with him, and I wanted some choral stuff, and he had literally 440 some odd different choral sounds. And he had the Tabernacle Choir, and I said, "Do you have like divorced woman with one eye with blonde hair?" I mean, he just had every combination you could imagine. Oh my God. Anyway, just a beautiful testament to your wife. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I really,
Well,
really
thank you.
appreciate that. And
I hadn't actually watched that video in a long time, and
mm,
it really was a very lovely reminder.
oh my God, it really is beautiful. Now, this is also from your Voyager album. It's called Mindful Moments. You want to give us a
Uh-huh.
little background on that?
Um, Now this piece was one of those pieces that just spilled out of me, and
Mm.
it has it has been on several other CD tracks that other people have made CDs and they've compilation CDs and they put it on, and
Nice.
it was there's an interesting event that happens when I'm composing. I said I could start off very gentle and very peaceful, but
Mm.
somehow something dramatic will always enter in.
Mm.
And even though it's mindful moments because I felt like that's the space that I was uh, occupying at the time I wrote it.
Yeah.
I've always been surprised that other people could relate to mindful moments that have a bit of like, you know, wake up to it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So this is Mindful Moments. Just beautiful. I'm
Thank you.
still sniffling from the last song. I apologize. I was very moved by that. Oh my God. Um, just beautiful now. So that you, just so people know, you can listen to all of these wonderful songs from the Voyager album on YouTube. And of course, we want to also support you. So what's the best way to buy your music? Is it on Spotify, Pandora, or do you have some preferences?
Well, to purchase downloads would be either through Bandcamp or through Amazon. Uh,
Okay, yes, good to know.
it's so hard to know which the best way. I mean, if
Mm,
people want to actually buy a hard CD, which is really a great way to support us artists, they
mm,
can go to my website, which is lisaswordlow.com, and
yes,
contact me, and
excellent.
I will send, I will mail them out to you.
Wonderful, excellent. Thank you. Now, this next piece is a little long, so I'm going to break it off near the end, but it's just a beautiful piece, Equus Rising, obviously about horses. By the way, I want to ask you about your album covers. Who does these? They're beautiful.
Well, the first two, Equus Rising and Voyager, were done by a friend of mine who lives up here. Her name is Linda Burns, and she's an
Mm,
exceptional artist.
very nice.
Um, but my let's see, a couple of them were done by Ken Verhicke, who is
Hmm.
also an amazing guitarist and
Oh,
a wonderful colleague.
hmm.
And my last album cover, plus several of my singles, were done by Rick Stevens, who's a artist who lives in Palm Springs, and he's again a fabulous artist.
Very nice. And then you have some wonderful videos too. Who puts those together for you?
Various people. Ken Verhicke again. He did a Rhapsody Lives in You,
Ah, yeah, very nice.
and Heart Dance Records. When I was with them, they produced several videos. I'm not sure who actually did the work on
Mm,
them,
hmm.
but Ken did most of my most of my music videos, except some of the live performances, and those were done by Joe Bongiorno in live performances.
Ah,
Um, so
excellent. Well, this is
and
a beautiful piece. And in fact, it ends nicely around 4 minutes, 4:25 or so. So, and then it starts to repeat. So I'm going to end a little early because it's a little long, but just a
it is
gorgeous
long.
piece with
Thank
wonderful
you.
video. So here's for all to enjoy. beautiful scene in there. I've seen it multiple times, but it just occurred to me watching it this time that when the clouds are playing over the Grand Canyon, as they're moving across the jagged rocks, it almost looks like horses jumping along the rocks. It was just a, I saw what the artist, the visual artist, saw in that for the first time and went, wow, that's very clever.
Well, I've been a horse person for most of my life, horse
Hmm.
crazy girl, and I have horses here at my ranch, and
Oh, did not know that. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and they're a very important part of my life, and
Mm.
I was inspired by them. There's been a lot of new discoveries around equine therapy. People with PTSD
Oh, yeah.
finding that they're getting really positive results working with horses.
Hmm.
Also, children with cerebral palsy, MS, and so Equus Rising was sort of a play on like what your rising sign is.
Ah,
And I felt like, my rising sign is Equus, and that horses need to be uh, revered and honored for the healing properties that they bring to us as human beings,
yeah. They are
that they've
beautiful
brought to me.
animals.
They have been very healing for me.
Absolutely beautiful animals. Yeah. My wife rode horses for years, unfortunately became allergic to them at the age of
Oh,
18, and so it's been very frustrating for her, but she likes to watch from afar now. Lives vicariously through others, but they are beautiful animals. Um, Now let's talk about another difficult time in your life. This is called Still Here. If you want to give us a little bit of background on that.
well, still here was, I've been dealing with my own cancer journey for
Mm,
18 years.
mm.
And 11 years ago, I was diagnosed as stage 4 metastatic cancer.
Oh boy.
And, everyone thought I was going to go the way that most people with stage 4 go.
Yeah.
But I think it was around 2017, it was like 4 years later, it was like, I'm still here. And so that sort of inspired it's a piece of survivor,
Yeah.
being, being a survivor and being a thriver.
Yeah.
I finally started recording music.
Hmm.
This came out on my third album, which is called Lasting Impressions.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just something I was very attuned to, that there are many people that are dealing with the same predicament I was in.
Yeah.
Need inspiration to know that, I'm now 11 years post
God love
diagnosis,
you. Oh, that's
and
great. Yeah,
I'm still here.
that's great. So we don't play this from the very beginning, but this is a section that I think you liked. I thought we'd play this. So this is Still Here. I love the way the timing of the woman climbing up the mountain matched the music perfectly. That was just wonderful. Okay, so we got about five to go, and I think that just about works for us in timing. This is called Together. You want to give us a little background on that?
Well, this is from my first album, Equus Rising,
Mm-hmm.
and um, this was actually a improvisational piece
Oh.
um, that I was in the studio recording,
Mm.
and I think Joe Bongiorno, my engineer, was futzing with some things, and I just started playing it, and he started recording it, and then of course, it was he kind of came in the middle, and he said to me, "I want you to do that again." I said, "Well, it was improvisational." He goes, "Do it again." I went, "Okay," and Lucy was sitting there in the studio, which she was there for many of my albums, sitting in the studio.
Mm. Yeah,
And so it was sort of talking. It was just about people who've been together for a while and what we go through with each other,
I love
and
it.
how we support each other.
Oh, that's great.
So this was my release concert.
I'm sorry?
This was my CD release concert.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I love it. You can hear the two different conversations going on there. That's great. Especially with that explanation. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, on the album Echoes Rising, it's even different than that. I mean, because again, it was an improvisational piece, so it grew,
Yeah.
it moved.
Ah, oh, excellent. Okay, now this is also from Lasting Impressions, and this is Slipping into Dreams. About a dream state, I guess, or
Well, actually, three pieces. I call it my dream trilogy around this album. It starts with Slipping into Dreams, and it's Dreams in Motion, and
ah,
then What's
yes,
All a Dream.
yeah,
So it's sort of the three stages of when you're just moving into that lucid state, and then Dreams in Motion was, I dreamt about flying, which is something that we often
yeah,
have these
yeah.
flying. And Was It All a Dream was sometimes, I would wake up and the dream was so real that I'd have to stop and go, was that a dream? Or, but also it had dual meaning. It was like oftentimes in my life, and I think in many people's lives, um, something occurs, a major event, and we can hardly believe that it actually happened. And,
Hmm.
usually in a very good way, and we go, did that really happen or did I dream it?
Right, right. By the way, I just finished a book by J.B. Priestley called Man and Time, and he talks about whether dreams are are projections of different universes and that sort of thing. And my uncle gave it to me when I was 13. It was such a big book, I could never read it. And 60 years later, I finally finished it. So, anyway, this is Slipping into Dreams. Wonderful. Okay, actually, we have three pieces left. We might go a little over, but I think that's okay. This is an orchestration now, listening from the heart. Any quick background on this you want to give?
Just part of my journey of learning to listen,
Mm-hmm.
take in, opening my heart, healing. That was
Mm-hmm.
that was probably what was behind it. I wrote this piece so long ago; it's hard to like actually
Yeah,
remember it.
we could actually all learn from listening to the heart. So, yes, here we go,
Uh,
listening from the heart. Very nice. Is
That
this
was
also? Yeah.
that wasn't orchestrated by Doug Hammer. That was orchestrated by a local musician, Paul Krashauer, who's also I recorded with him for a few songs on this album.
Ah,
It
very
was it
nice.
was it was during COVID, and I couldn't
Ah,
travel, so
of course.
I went local.
Oh, so you would actually travel out to the East Coast for Doug Hammer?
No, I would travel to Sedona, Arizona for Joe Bongiorno.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah. Now this is something completely different, a concerto. Let's talk about this. This is exciting.
Well, this is really I'm most proud of this.
Yeah.
I wrote it entirely during the pretty much the year and a half that we were all pretty isolated.
Mm.
And I was doing research as to the immigration of my grandparents from Ukraine and Poland.
Oh.
Uh, and I was immersed in learning about their journey
Mm.
and felt that they were all standing behind me, talking all at the same time. You know, some in
Yeah.
Russian, some in English, some in Yiddish, some in Polish. It was very hard to understand what they were saying.
Wow. Yeah.
But so there's three movements to this concerto. The first movement is called "Land of My Home of My Ancestors."
Hmm.
It's about village life where they came from in the Ural Mountains. The second movement is called "The Crossing," and it's about their journey over to America on a huge ship and what
Mm.
that was like for them. And the third movement is called "The Arrival," which was about them arriving in New York Harbor.
Excellent. By the way, I didn't know you had some Ukrainian background. I don't know if you know this, but I just wrote a piece called "Salute to the Ukrainian People." I'll have to send it to you.
I've heard it. I've
Oh,
heard
you
it.
have.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the second movement of Coming to America called The Crossing. Here we go. Some of your music has such a bittersweet quality to it. Just oh, it's goosebumps. Gives me goosebumps. Just amazing. Very nice. The
Thank
viola,
you.
the cello, the bassoon or oboe, whatever that is. Oh, gorgeous, just gorgeous. Now this is a seminal album, I think, through it all. I believe it talks about your journey with your wife.
Uh-huh.
Did you want to leave us any thoughts on that before we play it?
Well, this is the title track. The whole album was written in the 17 months that Lucy was ill,
Hmm.
and it basically catalogs my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And this piece, I think the title speaks for itself.
Yeah. Just beautiful. I can see the influence of Rachmaninoff in some of your writing. How do you feel about that? And are there some other people that you would consider being very influential in your writing?
Oh, my father was very eclectic in his music, and we always played music on the Zenith stereo every weekend.
Hmm.
So, everything from Harry Belafonte to Henry Mancini, to Chopin, Beethoven,
Mm.
everybody, Rachmaninoff. So it's hard to pinpoint where my influences have come from, but they're just deep in my cellular structure.
Mm. Well, you taught us a lot in this hour, and you showed us how your wife had sense of humor in hard times. And I just was looking, I came across some correspondence you and I had back 2 years ago when,
Uh-huh.
you couldn't do the interview. You were really devoting all your time to your wife. And at one point you said, we're hoping the cure isn't worse than the disease. And so you clearly had a sense of humor even back then about the trials and tribulations and the way you persevered, the both of you, the way you dealt with whatever's thrown at you. I mean, it's a lesson to be learned for all of us, the way you project all of this in your music so emotionally and so well. It's been a real inspiration listening to you and getting to know your music.
Well, thank you, Andrew, and I really appreciate you interviewing me and pulling this program together. You did an excellent job.
Thank you. Well, it's easy to do with all your wonderful music, and I hope to see you again soon. Lisa, I want to wish you the very best. I look forward to continuing to hear the music you come up with. It's just wonderful. It's very moving.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Thank
Good
you so
night.
much. Good night.